Hello and welcome back to Mexico News Network's Daily News, broadcasting from El Dorado Yala Spa Resort by Carisma. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus for more news, and log on to our website www.mexiconewsnetwork.com. Let's continue with information. The Mexican states of Puebla and Veracruz share the remains of an ancient metropolis that was one of the largest in the world for its time, even larger than the legendary Teotihuacan at one point. The fortified city of Cantona was abandoned 1,000 years ago, and researchers from the University of California's Berkeley campus now think they know why. According to the evidence, a prolonged period of drought was partly to blame for the deterioration of this pre-Columbian city between 900 before Christ and 1050 before Christ. This conclusion was reached after geographers of the American Institution analyzed sediment from a lake located 20 miles from the city's remains. According to UC Berkeley Associate Professor of Geography Roger Byrne, there was a long period of below average of rainfall, which ended shortly before the rise of the Aztec Empire. Counterintuitively, Cantona's population actually increased during this period, reaching up to 90,000. The reasons for this may have been migrations from rural communities in the Eastern Basin region towards Cantona, most likely in an attempt to escape the hardship caused by the drought. Barnes said that when the drought continued on the scale that they did, the substances base for the whole area changed and people just had to live, so the city was abandoned. The research team of Berkeley has recently published part of its research in the academic journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They emphasized the cooperation of the scientists from the National Autonomous University of Mexico in Juriquilla, in the state of Querétaro, as well as the German Research Center for Geosciences. Although information on the history of Cantona is still quite scarce, archaeologists believe that this metropolis may have been built by Olmec or even Chichimec peoples around the year 50 before Christ. The meaning of the name Cantona itself remains an enigma. It may be a word derived from the Nahuatl Caltonal, which means the sun's house. Cantona is considered to be one of the most urbanized metropolises of the pre-Columbian world, with almost 500 streets, 3,000 residential patios, and 24 ball games courts associated with religious ceremonies for the fertilization of the earth. So far, only 10% of this ancient metropolis declared by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization as a World Heritage is open to the amazement of visitors. The south of Mexico is full of fantastic stories, legends, and myths which will help shed light on the way the ancient Maya worldview. If you have visited the Yucatan Peninsula, Cancun, or the Riviera Maya, you may have heard of a certain poisonous trees, Metopin toxiferum, and its benevolent counterpart, Bursera simura, both of which grow in the jungles of southern Mexico. The following is a story of how these two plants got their names, Chechen and Chaca. Maya folklore has it that once upon a time there were two brothers, Kinich and Tisik, both the bravest of warriors, equal in strength but very different in their hearts. Kinich, the younger of the two, was a kind soul. Warm as the sun, it was said, beloved by all the people of their village. Tisik, on the other hand, has a cold and angry soul. Some even would say he was fury personified. One day, Kinich met Nicteja, a beautiful young woman with dark eyes, a sweet smile, and a warm heart of her own, the most splendid creation of the gods. Unfortunately, Nicteja's beauty was not lost in the cold-hearted Tisik. As it sometimes happens, both brothers fell in love with the same girl. It just happened that Nicteja's kindness was such that it managed to make Tisik's cold heart melt. He soon found that could not let her to go, and thus challenged his brother for the love of Nikteha. Anxious about the nearing duel, the gods filled the sky with dark clouds and hid the moon for several nights. Unfortunately, the battle ended tragically. Both brothers died, and the villagers mourned the loss of their two warriors. In the underworld, Tisik and Kinich were ashamed of their quarrel, realizing they would never get the chance to be with their beloved Nikteha again. Thus, both brothers begged the gods for a chance to see the lovely maiden one last time. The gods sort of granted their wish, transforming Tisik into a Chechen tree with his dark soul turned into a black potion sap that to this day burned the skin of anyone who touches it. Kinich, in the other hand, was reborn as Chaka tree, the sap of which heals the hurt and pain caused by his brother. Because of this, a Chechen tree will always be found close to a Chaka tree. Unfortunately, Nikteha also met a tragic fate. She died of grief upon learning of the two brothers' deaths. As they did with the two brothers, the gods transformed her into a beautiful white flower that grows by the water. Let's take a look to other cultural apps that you can explore on your cell phone or tablet. The first one is an app named México es Cultura. The National Council for Culture and Arts, CONACULTA, launched some years ago the app México es Cultura, Mexico is Culture, which is the artistic and cultural schedule of the country. It doesn't matter where you are. Through this helpful tool, you'll be able to search cultural activities around you, such as concerts, exhibitions, festivals, museums, cultural centers, etc. This app has been considered as one of the best 15 apps of the world, according to CNN Expansión. Another app is UNAM 360. The National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, is a leading academic institution in Mexico. The campus is so extensive that it's literally a small town inside Mexico City. If you like to take a little trip and visit the museums and art exhibitions of the university, you should take a look to the following app. UNAM 360 was developed to work along your mobile's GPS, which will allow you to know where exactly you are inside the campus, as well as vital important information about cultural activities near you. This app will also tell you the history and detail behind every symbolic building across Latin America's most important university. The other app is Museos Mexico. Museos Mexico, which means Mexico's Museum, is a free app that you can use to make virtual tours around the most important museums of Mexico, such as the National Museum of Viceroyalty, the National Museum of History, the Diego Rivera Mural Museum, the Templo Mayor Museum, and many others. This app also gives you the cultural agenda of these places, schedules, and photographs, so you are able to organize your visit any day you want. And the last one is Seducciones de Sor Juana. Sor Juana Seductions is a quick view into the life, work, and context of one of the most famous Mexican poets of all times. Although you can know more about the 10th Muse, this app has a lot of tools that you will love, like learn how to write a sonnet, draw and discover cooking recipes from the 17th century that you can easily do at home and amaze your closest friends and family. The app has exclusive information from the Universidad del Claustro de Sor Juana, the place where the poet lived for 27 years, that will allow you to better know this character iconic for Mexico's culture. As with many other ancient societies, the Aztec military was firmly organized and divided into several ranks. Among the most famous ones are the Eagle Warriors, Jaguar Warriors, and Shorn ones. These ranks were sometimes earned and sometimes inherited. As at its imperial height, Aztec society was extremely focused on forming a strong and vast fighting force. Given how war was the way Aztecs subjugate other peoples, society revolved around war, and so it was of the utmost importance to have a well-trained and loyal corps of warriors. The military was considered a way of life, and sometimes it was the only way to escalate the social pyramid. As such, society held several activities that involved fighting. Elite soldiers had their own weaponry and armor, including the elaborate headgear representing the sacred animal their ranks embodied. Others were dedicated to espionage, serving as messengers and strategists. The Aztec military was complex and involved several warrior societies, classes, or ranks. Starting with regular units, these were basically people whom, when not in battle, were in charge of carrying supplies, armors, and weapons during their long journeys. It's important to keep in mind that there were no beasts or burden to ride in Mesoamerican at that time, so it was necessary to walk to get to the scene of the battle or the settlement they wished to conquer. Next, we have the eagle and jaguar warriors. They wore armor and headpieces resembling the head of their rank's animal. Both were elite orders of warriors with advanced training in military tactics, though unlike other societies, both orders were open to commoners who proved their valor in war. Though both ranks are believed to have engaged in open combat, there is less certainty regarding more specific roles. For example, some sources cite the eagles as having more of a scout duty and jaguar with more of heavier open combat role. Next up is the most prestigious warrior society, the feared Huachique, which translates to the shorn ones, in Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs. They would shave part of their heads and just leave some strand on the left side to form a braid. These warriors were known for never taking a step backwards during confrontation and served as imperial shock troops. There were, of course, other elite warrior societies made up from members of the nobility from different ranks. It was fundamentally a way of distinguishing themselves from commoners, given that nobles received more recognition in Aztec society. Every rank was identified with special attire, although the higher the rank, the finer the garments. They would also decorate their skin with different colors according to the rank they belonged to as a way of identification. Being an Aztec warrior was a very important role in society, as they considered that before being a ruler in this world, you had to prove your value as a warrior in battle. Well, this was all for today. Thanks for watching us broadcasting from El Dorado Royal, the spa resort by Charisma. I am your host, Sofia Rattinger, and do not forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And log on to www.mexiconewsnetwork.com for more relevant information about Mexico and the world. We'll see you the next time.
Audio Jungle.